now he has modified his advice, and he has said, and he begins to say, "Oh no, don't go in a temple and sit at the table of an idol, because even though an idol's nothing, they are worshiping demons." Okay. Now, let me connect that to Flusser's idea that it's more Hellenized. Once you introduce Paul's world of demonology, or even the world of Jesus of demonology, you fully entered into what Flusser would call a Hellenistic world. And my understanding from my teacher, Jonathan Smith, and also, I would say Jacob Neusner would hold this position as well, the great scholar of Rabbinic Judaism or Pharisaic Judaism, that Judaism's the most Hellenized religion in the Mediterranean world, or just as Hellenized as any others. And it doesn't have to do with whether you eat meat offered to idols or whether you follow the Torah or don't follow the Torah according to a certain interpretation of observance. It has to do with your whole expanded worldview, your cosmos, which is now populated, by all these levels of heavens and powers. Paul calls them the stoicheia tu cosmo, the tutelary powers of the universe. And there this belief of these levels of heaven and all kinds of forces above the lower earth that we live in end up being part of Gnosticism later, and Christian belief in general. And it's a mark of Hellenization. In other words, the Greek magical papyri, with the cosmology that is sketched out in some of that material. For example, in my book, I have a book called Paul's Ascent to Paradise. And when Paul talks about having ascended through the heavens to the throne of God and hearing things unutterable, this is not just it's not like getting on a train and taking a trip. It's a journey that is fraught with all kinds of danger. We have many texts about this. So Paul is Hellenized in that he's living within a new cosmos that is vastly expanded. There's what he calls principalities and powers and heights and depths. Heights refers to all the angelic levels of the seven heavens. Depths refers to these underworld chthonic powers in the world of the dead. And he believes Christ has conquered all of those and ascended to heaven, and now, reigns supreme in the cosmos. And if you connect yourself to him, you can have that same kind of freedom and ability. But it's not an easy thing to do. In rabbinic sources, which are also talking about the same thing, we have the tradition of four rabbis that ascend to heaven, and it goes very badly for three of them. And for one of them, Akiva, he comes back okay, like Paul did. So this idea of going up to the heavens is fraught with danger, and I would call all of that a mark of Hellenism. So in that sense, I just have a broader definition. Hellenism to me is the cosmic view of the expanded universe, where the heavenly world is the true home of the soul, and this earth is a material lower world that we want to escape from. So any religion that begins to buy into that, therefore, an earthly temple, like the earthly temple of Jerusalem, still standing up to 70 AD, that would be like in the book of Hebrews, a mere shadow of the true temple in heaven. Well, what do you find in the book of Revelation? In chapter 11, heavens are open, there's lightning and thunder and an earthquake, and the veil of the true temple in heaven is opened, and the Ark of the Covenant is revealed. Now, that's nothing about the Ark of the Covenant on earth, and that there was never even an Ark of the Covenant, as you know, in the Second Temple, Herod's temple, or any of the temples from 520 BCE, when the Jews returned and rebuilt the temple. It was an empty house, really. And there's not the tradition that in most, I don't know, you'll have to correct me here. I don't think there are many texts that believe that Herod's temple had the Shekinah or the kavod dwelling in it, but it was there for God to come back to. You know, that was kind of the line that would be used. But the heavenly temple in the book of Revelation is very similar to the book of Hebrews. So it really depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about what should I eat, what should I buy from the marketplace? Should I circumcise my male children? Should I observe the Sabbath day and the festivals? Should I follow some kind of Jewish calendar? Should I, do anything that we consider even today to be observing Judaism as a Jew? I don't think those are the marks of Hellenism, because you could do all those in the ancient world before any Hellenistic ideas are becoming widespread. There's the ancient Near Eastern cosmos, which is the flat earth with the canopy of the sky above it, and then God is in the third heaven above. And in that universe, everything's in place. Like, you don't belong in heaven. You're not trying to get up there with God. There's no text in the Hebrew Bible that says you need to go up there and be with God, and that will be salvation for you. Salvation is God bringing rescue and healing and wholeness to this earth by restoring the people of Israel and turning all nations to the worship of the one God of Israel. And that's the vision you get in Isaiah 2. The nations come up to Jerusalem, they learn the Torah, and they beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. And finally, in Isaiah 11, it's the Messianic era, and the earth is full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Zechariah 14, the Lord will be king over all the earth. Those are not Hellenistic ideas. You're in the world of Hellenism when you're down here on the lower earth and you're being afflicted by some demonic forces, and therefore you need an exorcist. Or and that could involve anything from sickness or some sort of disabilities, bad luck, curses, things that we usually call magic in the ancient world, but it's not magician's tricks like it would be today. These are forces that operate in the cosmos, and you need to have the power to overcome them. So I believe that Paul, when people ask me, well, did Paul leave Judaism and become Hellenized? I would say the question is invalid. There's leaving Judaism to be Hellenized is not a direction that you take, because if you're Jewish, you're already Hellenized, meaning the fundamental insight of Hellenism is this expanded, vast universe in which human souls belong in the world above. And salvation means getting saved and getting immortalized in the world above. And the more you give up a earthly kingdom, as it was called, a kingdom of God on earth, that was seen increasingly as something Jews would want who have not bought into this Hellenistic view. They would want, the 12 tribes regathered and the temple rebuilt and all of that. That's increasingly left behind by the Jesus followers. So the difference between James, let's say the brother of Jesus, who's very observant, we think, of Jewish law, and Paul would be that James thinks Paul should keep doing those things because he's a Jew, And what he's telling his converts is just fine because they're not Jews. And I don't think it has to do with Hellenism. It has to do with that question of to what degree should non-Jews be observant of Torah? And the answer in Judaism is they can become righteous Gentiles. Remember, Noah's not a Jew. And by the way, Abraham's not a Jew. So I know rabbis dispute that today, but he doesn't have the Torah of Moses. It wasn't given at that time. So does that address some of what you were thinking? If not, just come at me again.
Yes, thank you. In the last few minutes, Dr. Tabor, have you done any research into the Gabriel revelation? In it, it discusses martyrs as holy ones arrayed in majesty. But what is the role of martyrdom in the book of Revelation?
Yes, I have done quite a bit on it. Israel Knoll is a personal friend of mine. We've been together a number of times in the United States and Israel. And the main attention, first of all, I don't think it's a forgery. Uh, I've examined it up close, not just the replica. And it just doesn't seem to me to have the marks of a forgery. It's very difficult to read and decipher and make much sense of because it's fragmented and some of the writing is faded. The thing that got the most attention, as you know, and that's why I guess it was called the Gabriel Revelation, was the possibility that one of the lines might read, a Messiah being slain and after 3 days rising, that his flesh would be like dung on the ground, and after 3 days he would be raised up. My understanding now is that Dr. Knoll is also wondering if that's still the reading he would support. I rather like that and actually wrote a lot of things about it and accepted it in a couple of books of mine. So I kind of don't want to give it up. But I'll tell you the part that relates to what you asked that is most important